So as we know, there is a code default at the time of creation of code that logic will run. So we have a similar default for subdocument as well. So when that will run is whenever you add a part, so that logic will run at that time. It's not just at the time of creation of code. It is at every time whenever you add a part. So if you add two parts now at the time of creation of code, so it will execute that line default. So after some time you revise, you do something, you do many modifications, like after a couple of days or somewhere, at any point of time you add some other part, then also this line level default will execute. But code level default will execute only at the time of creation of code. Yeah, let's open line default. So as we didn't save anything for yesterday, so it will nothing will be there. I'm just opening the script editor. So this is where we left yesterday. So what we are doing is we have unit prices for each part in the data table. So we are querying the data table and we are pulling each value. Let's execute this. I just pasted the code in BML editor. So now whatever the script we have, we'll just test it. So for that, we need to open debugger tab, and in the transaction ID field, we need to enter the number, transaction number. We found something right yesterday. We added that to the code as well. Let's open one code quickly. I'm opening the recent code. Yeah. So here we added right at code level some number, transaction number. So I'm copying it. I'm pasting in the transaction ID field, importing it. So right now there is nothing here because we didn't added any rule inputs here. So whatever we are using in this logic, so we need to add those rule inputs, so that then only we can use those values. If we refer any variables or nothing but attributes or fields, so we need to select them, then only we can import those values when you enter transaction number. So right now we are just testing this query only, right? So we don't need anything. So let's quickly run it. Yeah, in the console below the editor, we can see the part number and its unit price, because we are printing only two, because we have only two print statements, as it is in the loop and it found two records, so it's printing those two, part name and part unit price. So that is fine. So now whatever the data is there in the data table, we are able to see it. Now we need to set it to the line level attributes, right? For that we need line loop. We will be having parts in the subdocument section, right? So we need to loop on the subdocument section, then only we can access each part. So to loop on the subdocument section, this is the syntax. We have only for loop out of all the loops we know. For loop only supports in BML. So we are taking the for loop syntax and we are using on what we are looping. So we are looping on the subdocument. So the variable name of the subdocument, we are using it here to loop on it. So the syntax is like for iteration variable in subdocument. So right now let's print. Okay. So to access anything in the subdocument, we can call it through the variable names. For example, subdocument might have many variables: part number, part description, unit price, list price, anything. So as we know, part number is a system attribute. We can call it. The system attributes variable name is underscore part underscore number. But if I say it doesn't know which part it should take, it just know it is the part variable name of the part number, but it we need to also specify, as we have iteration variable, right? So we need to use it as current iteration variable dot part number. So sorry, the variable name. So then it will understand from the current row, it will pull part numbers value. I'm just pasting the code. And to access the part number, as it's an input, right? So we are accessing some value from the UI. For that to happen, we need to select, we need to import it. If we won't do that, it will throw an error. Let's check it. You can see subdocument is undefined because we didn't, it's a variable kind of thing, but we didn't initialized it anywhere. Either we should initialize it or we should import it. So now we need to click reselect here, and these are 4 tabs, right? So go to the line level tab, subdocument tab, third tab. So here you can see subdocument, and we also need part number underscore part, search for part number. Yeah, I found it. I'm selecting it. Click next and return to the editor. So now you can see at the top, you can see subdocument and part number. So as we have inputs now, if you import the transaction number now, so you can see those values filled up here like this. So you can see whatever all the parts are there available on the transaction currently. So now let's run this. It should print the part. Yeah. So if you see, if observe like ignore up to 4, this is the print statements what we used in the query related logic. So now these are the 2 print statements in the subdocument loop. So we are able to access the parts now. Okay. So we have part and part prices in the query logic, and line document loop we have part. But how to map these things? Part 1, this is the unit price. Part 2, 1.5 is the unit price. But how we will set unit price to each part and return to the line item grid? For this, what we did yesterday. So whatever this query is there earlier, we used to write based on the part number, we are looping it. So select part comma unit price from desserts where part number equals to this part number. If we do that, if we have 100 line items in the subdocument, so it will execute the query 100 times. It will be a performance issue. So to avoid that, we are querying as it's the same data always. So we are querying the data table before the subdocument loop, and we fetch the values. So now the issue is how to map these things. We have data and we need to return to the subdocument. How to map this? So that for that we will use dictionaries here. I'll say parts dict. It's just a variable name. So now I need to create a dict and I need to store those values in the dictionary. Why I'm choosing dictionary is, so in the dictionary we know there is a facility of storing the values. The structure will be key value pairs. So what I will say, I'll think I'm planning to store it in the key value pairs, because this is the part number, this is the unit price. Key is going to be my part number, and its value is going to be its unit price from the data table. So I'm creating a dictionary. The syntax of dictionary is dict of, in double quotations, we need to write the type of the dictionary. It's an integer dictionary or float dictionary or string dictionary. So as we are storing the float values, we can create it as float, because the unit price is float, right, from the data table. So we are making it as float. So parts dict, or we can say, to be more relevant, unit price dict, we can say. So in this dictionary, we will be having unit prices, but the keys are going to be parts. So I initialize the dictionary. Now what I need to do, so we have part in the column, in the data table query, and its unit price in the query. So I'll use this a dictionary and I will store these values. So to use this dictionary, it should be before the query. We need to initialize it before the query. So I'm cutting this. So I initialize my dictionary. Now what I will use is, so whenever I get across each record, so from the each record I can pull part and unit price. At the same time, I will store them in the dictionary. So how to store those values? The syntax is going to be put function. There is a put function in the dictionaries section. If you observe the function wizard in a BML editor, you will be finding the categories and its functions, right? String, arrays, dictionaries, BMQ, like that. So in the dictionary section, there is a function called put. So this put function will accept the dictionary name, the key, and its value, 3 parameters. So what's the dictionary name? What we created? It's unit price dict. So what it should do in this dictionary, it should store unit price. So how to store unit price? We'll be assigning a key, nothing but a part. So this is the key. So our key is going to be part name, right? Part name is the variable name we assign. We pull the part and storing it in the part name. So my key is going to be part name, and unit price is going to be my value. Part unit price is the variable name. So I'm simply adding this. So the put function, as we know, 3 parameters. So one is dictionary, one is the part, nothing but the key, and one is the value, nothing but the unit price. So now when this function got executed, it will store in the dictionary this part with its unit price. And removing this print statement. Okay. Now let's see. So after inserting the values in the dictionary and its, with respect to its keys, so let's check whether the dictionary is being created or being updated or not. So I'm putting a print statement for the dictionary as well. Let's execute this code. Sorry. So it is saying cannot put a string in the float dictionary. So this is a float dictionary, right? So we are putting a value which is a string. So we need to convert it to float. So there is a function whenever it's a string, so we can convert it to a float. So there is a function called a to f. So if it's a string, then only it will convert it to float. So now you can see it's getting printed. Let's remove these print statements as well for now. So if you observe the console, we can see 2 lines. Test part 1 and its unit price is 100. In the second line, test part 1 its unit price is 100. Test price 2 its unit price is 125. Because it's in the loop, this print statement. So for the first loop, it will be having a dictionary with 1 key value pair. In the second loop, it will be a dictionary with 2 key value pairs. Because we are updating the same dictionary, right? So whenever a put function is getting executed, it appends the data to the existing dictionary only. So that's why we got 2 records in the second row. So that's how we can store in the dictionary. So if you see, if you avoid this print dictionary, sorry, print statement, remove it. So simply paste it after the for loop. So now you will see the finalized dictionary. So if it's the earlier position, so if it's we have 100 records, so we'll be having 100 print statements of dictionaries, keep on appending, keep on increasing the key value pairs. So when we are putting it after the for loop, we can see only the finalized dictionary in the console. See, I got the finalized dictionary. So now we have the dictionary. What we need to do is, basing on this dictionary, when we are looping on the subdocument, whenever we come across each part, we can pull the value basing on that each part, treating it as a key from the dictionary. Then we need to assign to the respective parts unit wise line level attribute. We have this dictionary, right? Simply we'll uncomment this subdocument loop. We can remove this print statement as well. Otherwise, we can keep it. And whenever you are finalizing the code and you are deploying the code, so if it's just one or two statements, that will be fine. So if you're having like a lot of tens or hundreds of print statements, it's better to comment them and execute it. So I'm removing this print statement as I'm looping on the subdocument. So what is our task now? We need to pull the unit price from the data table and we need to assign it to the line level attribute. So our line level attribute is, let's see what we created. I just closed it by mistake, so I'm adding it again. So let's go back to the administration page and we can see on the transaction itself. So this is the transaction, right? So this is this column, you can see this is the unit price. Here we need to pull the value from the data table and we need to set it here. So how to see? Click on that and inspect element. So here we can see the XML, right? This is the variable name, unit price underscore L. You can simply copy it and use it in your logic. So if you do, if you want, you can go to the line item grid. If you want to go to the list of attributes layout, and you can see whatever the attribute you map in there. So from the tool, if you want, you can use this inspect element and you can find the variable name. So finding the value through inspect elements is a bit easy. So now we have the variable name, right? This is the unit price. So for this, we need to assign whatever the unit price we fetched from the dictionary. So how we will do, and to return something to the line level attribute, there is a format. If it's a quote level attribute, the document number is going to be 1 blindly, and the format is, let's write it here, return 1 tilde document number tilde attribute variable name tilde and its value, if this is a quote level attribute. If it's a line level attribute, 2 or 3 or 4, whatever the line level variable name, document number, var name, tilde, and value. The second line, if you see, this is for subdocument level attributes to set the value, but this is the static way. If we have multiple, like thousands of hundreds of variables, so we can't line level attributes, we can't set statically. So that's how we are using this dynamic way of looping on the subdocument. So when it's going to be dynamic, so instead of 2, we need to use the variable name, nothing but document number. So the document number will be, we need to import it. So scroll it, there is a system attribute already. So go to the line level tab, import the document number. Here you can see underscore document underscore number. Check it. Click next and come to the editor. So here you will see the document number. So simply click on it. You will find the document number name in this editor. Copy it. Use it in your script. So we have the document number as well now. So what is the written format? We should frame like that. So the written format is going to be written document number tilde. Why I'm framing everything is different is because this is everything in this line number 25 is a static thing. So that's why we included everything in the double quotations. But here, if you see, this document number is a variable, which is a dynamic thing. Whenever it's a variable, it's a dynamic thing, right? So that's why we are concatenating the combination of dynamic and static values as a string. So this is a dynamic thing. We are using a variable name. This still has a static thing. We are including in the quotations. So now the next thing is we need to add variable name. So what is our variable name? It's unit price. So unit price variable name is a static thing because we don't want the value of unit price. We just want the variable name of attribute. So it's again a static thing. After the attribute variable name, we need to add tilde, and now we need value. Point is value, right? So we need to add value. So now the value is not static here. We need to pull it from the dictionary because we already have the unit price in the dictionary, right? So to put the values in the dictionary, we have one function, this one. So similarly, we have one function to get the values from the dictionary. The syntax is get. So to put, there are three parameters. When we are putting something, we need to tell it which dictionary, the first parameter, which key, the second parameter, which value, the third parameter. So to get the value from the dictionary, we just need what is the dictionary, the first parameter, what is the key, the second parameter. We don't need to consider about value because the value we are going to fetch, right? So that's why the first parameter will be the dictionary name from where we want to get the value. And on basing on what we want to get the value is going to be our key. Our key is nothing but the part number of the subdocument. Because when we are looping on the subdocument, if we are on the first loop, respect to part number we want as the key. So to access something in the loop, each part dot its variable name. Variable name is part number underscore part underscore number, right? Yeah. So this is the dictionary. This is the key we want to fetch from the dictionary. So now we got the written format: document number, unit price, nothing but the attribute variable name, and value. But if we keep the return statement here, it will break the loop and it will return the value here itself. If we have multiple values, so we can't keep the logic or run the logic till the end of the subdocument. So we need to skip the return statement here. What we need to do it, we need to maintain a string here. So I will say it as return string. So every statement we should end with the semicolon. So now this is fine. We assign it to the return string, some variable. So at the when the loop iterates for the second time, so it will override the return string and it will adds the second row's related details. So to persist the data, each row data, what we need to do is we need to append. We need to store in the return string, and at the same time, in the second iteration, we need to get old value of the return string and we need to concat the new value of the return string. So copy it. So the statement is going to be return string plus the current data. When we are using some variable, we need to initialize it, right? So that we'll do before the loop. Return string equals to some empty string. We can initialize like this. So now I initialize my temporary variable. In the temporary variable, on every loop, I'm adding my data whenever I want. So this is fine. So if you see this statement, it's going to be, observe line number 25. like this. Two, I mean nothing but line document number, attribute variable name, value, line document number, attribute variable name, value. There is no separation. So it may treat after the tilde value 3. The whole value 3 is a value that need to be inserted in the first variable name. So we need to avoid this issue, we need to use a separator here. After the first value and the next document number, we need to put a separator. That separator is going to be a delimiter, nothing but pipe. The pipe is going to be a delimiter. So that's how. So when we are doing this, so we need to end this line with a delimiter pipe. So now whenever it concatenates next time, so in the first insertion we have pipe at the end, right? So whenever it's going to append the second time, at the end of this return string old value, there is a pipe, so it won't be a conflict. So it can append the new value directly. So before the document number, it's going to have a pipe when it's going to insert the second time or third time, or the like secondary times. So this is the format we need to use. Let's remove this. And this return string is the final value, final data, right? So we need to return it. So instead of return empty, we'll use that return string. So let's paste this again. Let's get the transaction number. Sorry, it's saying document number is being used without initialization. Let's go back to the notepad and see. Yeah. So here, when we say line level attribute, it doesn't know from which row it should take. So here we did right. When we are accessing the part number from the current row, it should take, right? So similarly, we need to type each part here. Whenever you are accessing some line level attribute in the document subdocument, sorry, in the subdocument loop, we need to use the iteration variable dot respect to attribute variable name. Let's run it again. Okay. So it is saying operand type mismatch, line number 18. Operand type mismatch. Operand type should be one of string type. Operand is nothing but what with what we are doing the calculation, right? So line number 18 it said. So line number 18. Okay. So here it is saying operand type should be one of string type. It is expecting a string. So in this line, for what is the value that can be other than string? Document number is the string, we know. Return string, we initialize it as a string. This is a string as we enclosed it in a double quotations. And this get value. From this dictionary, we are getting some value. What is this dictionary type? If you observe the line number 1, it's a float dictionary. So when it's a float dictionary, in any kind of dictionary, the key is ultimately a string. We know that. But the type of dictionary will reflect to the value of the dictionary. Okay, value of the key. So when we are pulling something from the float dictionary, ultimately it's going to be a float value. So with this get statement, get function will return a float value. So what we need to do, this each part number is the key, will pull its unit price, right? Respect to unit price. So from here, it's a float value, right? So this we need to include it in a, this is a float, right? We need to convert it to the string. Why? We are concatenating this. If you observe, this is a combination of dynamic and static values. Those static values are strings. So ultimately, this dynamic value should also be a string. We need to use convert it float to the string. So there is a function called string which can convert. If it is another than string like integer or float, it can convert to string. So we are using this function. So then this float value can be converted to string. Let's execute it again. Yeah. So now we got no errors. So if you see the console, this is the print statement what we write earlier. So if you see the result, we are returning something, right? Through the return keyword. So it is returning some data. What it is returning? See, 2 document number. Attribute variable name is unit price. That means in the line item grid, for the second row, for the unit price attribute, it is setting 125. For the third row, so you can see a pipe pipe delimiter, right? So after that, third, nothing but the second row. 3 is the document number, right? Second row, unit price value is going to be 100. So if you see this written data, and if you see observe your line transaction, so we have 2 rows. Document number, this test part 2's document number is going to be 2, and this is going to be 1, like that. So it is adding respect to unit price and its values. So whenever we execute that code, it should populate respective unit prices in this column. So as it is fine and we don't find any errors, so let's save and close it. Yeah, I click save and close. So after clicking save and close, this is the area, right, from where we open the editor. So in this respective place, we need to update it. So I updated it. So the thing what we need to do is deploy. I'm opening the quick links, opening the respective process. Let's deploy. And while deploying, we can use this color notation or this timestamp. We can see a change in the timestamp, or we can see a color change from red to black. I'm deploying the things. I'm refreshing it. It's still not deployed. Yeah, it's deployed. So as we wrote the logic in the line level default, so that means whenever we add a new part, so then only it will run. So to this is the existing part, right? So for this, it won't get the value because this line is already created. So let's add it one more time. I'll write some part, test part 1 only. So now I will save it. Just a modified type of action, any modified type of action I can perform after adding a part. So I'm simply saving it. There is no logic on this save action if you observe. So I'm just performing a modified type of action. If you see, the unit price got populated. Why? Because this first row is just what we added. That is nothing but a line got created. So default will run at the time of creation of line. Subdocuments default will run at the time of creation of line. As this line got created just now, so it pulled the value. Because these values are already created on this code, the default area of scope is already done. So for this, the values are not getting populated. That's the reason. So if you create a new code from now, or if you add any any number of lines from now, that line level default will execute and it will pull the values. That's the differentiation. That means the default will run only at the time of creation of line if it's subdocument default. If it's a main document default, it will run at the time of creation of code. Okay. So now we got the values. Similarly, we'll create a fresh code and we can see the values get populated. Let's do a fresh code. Where is the process manager? Yeah. I'm clicking new transaction. Yeah, I'm using the quick key action item action. Let's add our parts test. I'll say test 2. I'll add one more. Test 1 also. Okay, I'm performing the modify type of action. As soon as we add the parts, we need to click modify type of action. So now we got created these two lines just now, right? So it is pulling the values. And remember one thing, we are performing the modify action just to save the parts to the transaction. But the logic related to these parts is at the time of at the position nothing but at the area line level default. So now we got part and its unit price by adding the parts. So now what we want to do, we need to pull the quantity also. If you have something, if you don't want as per your business, you can't accept the quantity from the customer. So then you can store similarly the quantity also from the data table. So if it's open to if it's open for customer, like he can select the quantity as of his wish. So we can leave it as it is. So user will enter the values here. And extended price basing on the quantity we need to calculate. I am just opening the layout. Opening the line item grid. Here in this list of columns what we added, you can see one option called editable. If you observe the line document, sorry, transaction in the subdocument section, when I'm clicking double clicking on this fields, it is not editable. So if you observe the layout, there is one checkbox, right? This is editable. If for few attributes it is not editable. Why? Because whatever the attribute you are using in the first two rows are system attributes. You can't override a system attribute. These three rows are created by us. If you observe, we went to the subdocument section, we opened the attribute section, we created this unit price, quantity, and extended price, everything. These are created manually by us. So for those attributes only, we can override the values. So we can make it as editable. And we need to keep one thing in mind. As we are pulling the values from the unit from the data table, we don't want it to be editable. That's fine. And we need to enter quantity on the UI, right? So that's why I should make quantity as editable. And extended price also, it should be calculated basing on the quantity and unit price. So we don't want user to enter this editable, sorry, extended price as well. So I simply want quantity as the editable. I'm clicking OK. I'm saving the line level, sorry, I'm saving the layout. So once I'm done, I'm going to the admin page, opening quick links, opening the process, and will deploy it. So as we don't find the change, I'll concentrate on my timestamp. Right now it is 10:04, right? Deploying it. Just refresh it to see the updated status. So earlier it is 10:04, right? Now it's 10:11. So that means it got deployed. I'm just refreshing the code. Sorry. As something got changed, it's better to open it again freshly. So to open it again, we need to know what is the transaction. So remember this T41, a transaction ID. Go to the transaction manager again. Let's open the port again. T41. Yeah, this one. I'm opening it again. So now we can see a change in the UI look and feel. This is somewhat different and this field is somewhat different. So this is editable. So when I click it, so I can see it's editable. If you observe the cursor also, it's changing the look. So it is editable. It is not editable like that. So now I can enter the quantity. I want this as one quantity. I want this as two quantity. I can enter the quantity as of our wish. So I'm done with adding the quantity. So now what we want extended price. So after populating something through the line default after users entries are done. So we want some logic to be executed. So in this area, at this point of time, the only area of the logic that can be populated is the logic that can be triggered is actions. So after making some changes, you can click any type of modify action, and you can write your logic in that basing on the values on the UI. So you can do your calculations and you can set your logic. So now what we need to do, we need to populate this extended price. So the action I'm going to click should trigger this logic and it should populate extended price. So to modify any data or to set some data, we need to keep in mind the action type is modify type of action. So what I will do is, let's create a modified type of action which can do this logic. So I'll say that action is update pricing. So we want the pricing to be updated, right? Let's create an action called update pricing. Simply navigate to your process, main document. I'm opening my process, main document. In the main document, we need to go to actions. So let's create a new action, update pricing. So you can keep any name, whatever you want. Update pricing is my action. I'm leaving the variable name as it is. And if you want, so you can follow the notation here itself, as it's a quote level action. So you can create underscore q or like that, based on your requirement. I'm leaving the action type as modified type only. I'm adding it. Okay. So now in this action, we have two different areas. Similarly, in the line default, we saw, right, two areas of BML editors. One is before formulas, one is after formulas. So similarly, as we don't have formula dependency now, so I'll simply select the before formulas. And it's nothing like don't need to select, you should select before formulas, you can select after formulas also. So what I will do is, we did selected before formulas in the line level default, right? For a change, let's select after formulas here. I'm clicking definition, define function. So now we need to write our logic in this editor. But to write this logic, we need some inputs. What are those inputs? If you observe the transaction, we need to calculate extended price, okay, basing on unit price and quantity. So our inputs are going to be unit price and quantity. So let's see the tabs. So our inputs are line level attributes, right? Go to line subdocument tab. Let's find unit price. Unit price underscore L. This is our attribute. And we want quantity also, right? I'm selecting quantity as well. So to loop on the subdocument, we want this subdocument also. As you are looping on the subdocument attributes, here the default they removed the checkbox itself. So we don't need to select it. By default, it will come. But as there is no checkbox, it will come by default. Still, you should add at least one line level attribute as input. So as we selected 2, right? Let's uncheck this and go to the editor. See, I unchecked it. Still, you can see at the top there is no checkbox for the subdocument. Nothing but the this variable name, subdocument's variable name. I'm going without checking anything. I'm going to the editor. You can see above the editor there are no input attributes. So now I'm going back, clicking reselect. I'll select my line level attributes, unit price and quantity. Still, we didn't check this subdocument, right? Now I'm clicking next and going back to the editor. It will pull subdocument also, you can see. I just selected unit price and quantity. There is no checkbox. That means this collection will automatically get imported if we select any subdocument attribute. So that's how we got the inputs. So now what's our duty? We need to loop on the subdocument. We need to use existing unit price and quantity. We need to calculate extended price. So let's write the logic again. So we need to loop on the, let's change the language to JavaScript so that we can see the variation of keywords, parentheses and all. For iteration variable. So each row or each line, whatever you can say. The syntax is for loop iteration variable in sub document. So the sub document variable name is, just copy it, sub doc. So now what we need to do, we need to calculate and assign the value to the extended price. So we need to know extended price variable name. We need to set value to the extended price, right? So we need to return value something to the extended price. So let's go back. Okay. So let's go to the transaction. Similarly, how we know check the variable name. So clicking inspect element on extended price. Here you can see the extended price variable name. Copy the variable name and I'm opening the notepad. So this is where we need to return the value. So we know the return format, right? Return format is going to be document number, variable name, value. So my document number, I need to import the document number as well. Sorry. Let's reselect it. Go to the subdocument tab, click on the document number, click next and return back to the editor. So now we can see the input as document number. Click it. So you'll find the text in the editor, copy it, use it here. Okay, we have document number and we have extended price. This is where we are going to do some calculation and return the value to this extended price. Okay, for calculation what we need quantity and unit price. Let's copy those values also. Why I'm doing this is the best practice for to avoid the spelling mistakes. Like if you write the variable name spelling wrong, so it won't set that value. It can't find that attribute and it can't set the value. So that's why we do this. If we are confident enough, then we can do directly type the variable name. That's not a big deal. So we have all the attributes. So what I'll do is we need to form the return statement, return format. So document number plus this tilde as a delimiter. So now I need to find the variable name of resultant or destination attribute. As this is also static, I'll add it here itself. I'll add tilde. Now we want to use the value. The value is going to be unit price into quantity, right? So we need to add unit price into quantity. And this logic needs to be executed for all the rows. So when we say all the rows, so we need to store some value, right? I'll say it as a string equals to persist the previous rows or all the rows, we'll do as ret string plus. And to avoid the like mixing up of different rows data, we have a delimiter called pipe. Similarly, how we did in the previous logic. So we'll add pipe here. So earlier we added at the end, right? So now we are adding at the beginning also. We can do this, but this will result in adding a extra pipe in the beginning because initially return string is going to be empty, right? As we will initialize it. So if you observe the return format, so initially it will put a pipe, and it will add the data. So that's why we will avoid this to in the return data to having extra pipe. We will avoid that and we will add it in the end. So now we are looping at the sub document. For each document number, let it be any number of rows in that sub document. So we are looping on every document number, and we are fetching the unit price into quantity calculation, and we are setting it to extended price variable. So now, if you observe, this is a float. This is an integer. We are multiplying it. The resultant is going to be a float. So we are setting it to here. So when we are concatenating multiple values, everything should be a string type, right? So similarly, we need to do string of. That's fine. And we need to remember one more thing. Whenever we are accessing line level attributes in the subdocument, we need to use this iteration variable to say that this document number belong to current row. Similarly, this unit price belongs to current row, and the quantity belongs to current row. So that's the logic we need to include. And finally, after initializing this, we need to return this value because we are storing everything in this variable, right? So return that variable. Let's check if we have any errors or not. I just pasted the code. So we need to debug it, right? So again, we need to pull the transaction number. I'm copying the transaction number from the code. Came back to the editor, pasting the transaction number, clicking on import. So now I can see the imported values. We have two records in the subdocument. Document number 2, document number 3, that's fine. Unit price is 100 and 125, and quantity is 00. So right now we didn't made any changes, right? We didn't modify it. So after this quantity, so we didn't perform any action, right? So that's why it's pulling the previous values. The transaction number can pull values only whatever it got saved to the transaction. After 1, 2, we didn't save it. So let's click save. So now this 1, 2 quantities got saved to the transaction. So now if you do import again, observe this quantity, everything will be same. This quantity row, if you observe, this zeros will be overridden with 1, 2 as quantities. I'm importing it now. So now you can see the quantity as 1, 2 instead of 0, 0, because whatever the values you add in the transaction, after the performing of modified type of action, then only those new values will get appended to the transaction. So now I'm good with the values. So let's execute this. I'm clicking on run. So it got triggered the logic. We got no errors. So now we can see the result. We can see document number 2's, I mean the first rows, extended price value is 100, and second rows, nothing but the third document numbers, extended price is 250, because here we used the quantity as 2, right? And the price is 125, unit price 125 into 2, 250. So it did the calculation and it's returning the logic. So this is on the modified type of action what we created just now. So whenever this logic we want to be performed on the transaction, we need to perform this action. And simply clicking save and close as we are done with the logic. Yeah, so after we are done with the logic, what we need to remember, that editor got closed, right? We need to go to the respective action. We don't need to close that. So just navigate across your tabs and find, yeah, this is the action where we open that editor. So in this page, we need to update it. Then only whatever that logic is there, it will save. Okay, we updated this. So once we are done with the changes, the mandatory thing is to deploy the changes. Open your process. We can see the change in the color. Simply click deploy once. So keep on refreshing it. So we see the updated status. Yeah, it's got deployed. So let's go back to the transaction. And the change in the logic running scenario is, or functionality is, earlier our logic is, we added the logic in the line default. For that, a new line needs to be created. So now our logic is on a modified type of action. We don't need to create a new transaction. On any existing transaction, if you go and perform that modified type of action, this logic get triggered. And one more thing is, yeah, sorry, I forgot to add that action on the layout. Let's keep this transaction as it is. Let's go to the layout. Yeah, so I open the layout. We need to refresh it, because after creating the action, we didn't refresh this page, right? I'm just refreshing this page. Let's add our new modified type of action. Click add here, actions. In the actions, we can see or update pricing action. I'm simply dragging it to the action strip or toolbar, you can say. I'm saving it. I'm done with saving. Simply deploy our changes. And get to your process. Select your process. Simply deploy it. As we are not seeing any change in the color, simply we'll concentrate on timestamp. It is 10:26, right? Refresh it. Now we can see 10:28. So it means there is a change in the timestamp. That means it got deployed. So now I came back to my transaction. Okay, sorry. I need to refresh it now because to see the action, right? I'm simply refreshing it. Okay, I got refreshed the transaction. Now we can see our new action, update pricing. So now we can see the extended price is not yet populated. We have unit price and quantity. We have 2 rows. So now I'm performing simply the update pricing action. I'm clicking it. So if you observe, you can see the extended price, 100 and 250. So now after performing the action, we can see the extended price. Whatever the logic we added, it got executed. So like that, if you want something that should be, that logic should be run at the default, you can add at the default, line level default or code level default, or basing on something's got configured on the UI or something got modified on the UI. After that, if you want to run some logic, so then you need the help of actions. So at that, after whatever all the changes you required are done, so then you need to perform the action. So basing on the area or instance where you will trigger your respective action, so it depends on the functionality. So as I just want to update my pricing, so this is my area. So I'll say update pricing. I added it. So after updating pricing, so user may enter some discount value. So this area of triggering the logic got like it's done already. We crossed that area. So user may enter now discounts. So we may create some discount attribute here. So we will allow user to ask enter whatever the discount he wants. So let's make it as editable field. He will enter like 10%, 50% discount like that. So after user entering values, we need to calculate the discounted price. So that's again and one more like point of time that logic should be triggered on the transaction. So we need to create one more action like update discounts or calculate finalized price, some other action. Then we need to perform that particular logic. So it depends on the business or the requirement, whatever at what point of time we want to trigger one logic. So we will create that action respectively, and we need to perform that action basing on our requirement. So once we add the discount values and we pull it, we validate it and everything. So basing on that, we'll start the approvals. Like as we are done with the time, it's a long process, right? Let's continue in the next session, adding the discounts. And like in the tomorrow session, let's jump to the submit action and approvals. So we have a scenario, right? So we will allow user to enter whatever the discount he wants, and we will also validate. We will maintain some like discount thresholds. For this part, this is the maximum discount. For this part, this is the minimum discount. Like that, we'll maintain some data, and basing on that data and whatever the discount user enter, let's validate it. And then if there are any like restrictions or if there are any violations, then we need to, basing on that issue, we need to trigger approvals. Then if the approver is satisfied or if he is okay with the discount level, then he will approve it. Then the quote will get approved, and that's the whole flow will get saturated. So that we'll see in the next session. With that, if that session is done, we will be done with like setting the logic through BML to the quote level attributes and line level attributes, and approvals also we can cover the submit type of action and approvals. So that will cover in the next session. If you don't, if you, do you guys have any doubts, or am I confusing you guys?
No, Karthik.
Okay. Okay. So if you have like no questions, like we can conclude the today's session, and hopefully in the next section, if it won't take more time, in the next section itself we can conclude this discounting scenario, submit action and approvals, and bringing the code to the approved status. Or else if it takes time, let's take one more session to finish that.
Yes, Karthik. We would like to focus more on the approvals, as we have a lot of approval mechanism in our current organization using big machines. So let's spend a good amount of time on understanding that.
Yeah. It keep on like it's just the approvals is very easy. You don't need to worry. So as we try this example, right? So we'll get to know what the basic thing is. So their business is like it deals with thousands of crores, hundreds of crores, and hundreds of products, right? So that's how the complexity just goes. So they will give you the long Excel sheet. They will have a lot of approvals. They have thousands of parts. So for 10 parts, someone is the approver. For 20 parts, some other person is the approver. That's where the complexity comes. So the basic thing is easy. So the complexity where it goes is we need to track all those Excel sheets data. We need to keep in mind, keep in the logic all those approvers, all those conditions. We just need to frame it. That's where the complexity. It will be like what we can say. The scenario in the real time can be robust. Here, the robust meaning in my scenario now is it's just huge. It's not complex. That's what I say.
Okay. Yeah, I think we have something similar to what you just explained, Karthik. So based on the discounting, whatever we provide for some quote information and all that. So we have different levels of approvals and different approvers also at the same time.
Yes. So now, right now, our example is just basing on the discount. We are maintaining thresholds. Basing on that, we'll select approvers and we'll trigger it. But what the example you are saying is, for example, if 10% is the eligible discount, if I say 20%, we'll simply trigger an approval in our case, in our example now. But whatever you are saying is, if it's a 20%, level 1 approver need to trigger. If it's a 20%, 30% like that, you have levels. So basing on that, we need to do calculation. It's just the logic getting a bit complex. That's it.
Yeah, and also we have dynamic discounting available in our big machines. Like if somebody is actually, if somebody is actually giving a discount of 20%, even though the whole limit is 10%, and if a salesperson is giving 20% discounting, we would like to have some amount of that discount price to be increased in, let's just say, some other parts, right? Maybe not in that part, other part. So all those kind of dynamic, discounting, pricing and changes, everything happens at the same time. We would like to see those ones along with the approvals. And I'm not sure if you just want to give a high-level overview of documents also at the same time, because a lot of times approval happens by reviewing some documentation and all that. But yeah, when we go through the docu designer, we can have a more in detail discussion about that. But yeah, just to give you a understanding of what we use in our big machine system. Yeah, so that way you can focus more on those ones.
Okay. So the document designer is going to be the same what we discussed in recent sessions. So we just created a template. We just need to create a template as a final quotation of this transaction. But whatever the document you are saying is, that's going to be a template basing on the approvers. So if someone is going to approve, he needs to see why I should approve, what is the scenario. At that point of time, we need to create a separate template. So this is the part you are going to approve, Mr. Approver. So this is the part, this is the discount, this is the threshold. Whether you want to approve or not, we need to provide that information. It's just a template change. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that should be good for now.
Okay.